The elevator numbers climbed higher and higher, but Nathan Richardson felt like he was sinking deeper into a pit of despair. Floor 37, 38, 39. Each ding echoed in the empty elevator like a countdown to another meaningless day. When the doors finally opened to the penthouse level, Nathan wheeled himself out with the same mechanical precision he'd perfected over the past 3 months. 3 months. 93 days since the accident that changed everything. Since the day his legs stopped working. Since the day his life as he knew it ended. The penthouse that once symbolized his success now felt like a prison tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city, but Nathan rarely looked out anymore. What was the point? The world down there belonged to people who could walk, run, dance. People who could chase their dreams without wheels attached to their bodies. His phone buzzed against the glass coffee table. Another assistant had quit. That made 7 in 3 months. Nathan wasn't surprised. He'd become impossible to work with, snapping at everyone who tried to help. The cleaning lady had stopped coming after he yelled at her for moving his wheelchair. His physical therapist had reassigned him to someone else. Even his own mother had stopped visiting daily, claiming she needed space to process. The apartment felt suffocating. Designer furniture arranged perfectly, but everything felt wrong now. The bar stools he'd never sit on again. The dining table where he used to host dinner parties. The bathroom with the fancy tub he'd never use. His bedroom where he now slept alone, the California king bed feeling enormous and empty. Nathan grabbed the whiskey bottle from the side table. It was becoming a routine this afternoon drinking. His doctor had warned him about mixing alcohol with his medications, but Nathan didn't care anymore. Pain medication for his back, antidepressants that didn't seem to work, sleeping pills that gave him nightmares about walking. What did it matter if he added whiskey to the mix? The liquid burned as it went down, but it was nothing compared to the fire of rage that lived in his chest now. Rage at the drunk driver who hit him. Rage at the doctors who couldn't fix him. Rage at his friends who spoke to him in that careful, pitying voice. Rage at himself for becoming this bitter shell of a man. His business was suffering too. Richardson Industries, the tech company he'd built from nothing, was losing clients. His business partner Jake had been covering for him, making excuses about Nathan being temporarily unavailable. But Nathan knew the truth. Who wanted to do business with a broken CEO? Who trusted a man who couldn't even stand up to shake their hand? Across town, in a small apartment that smelled perpetually of vanilla candles and children's breakfast cereal, Simone Williams was having her own breakdown. She sat on the edge of her bed, still in her blue scrubs from her 12-hour shift at the hospital, counting the bills spread across her comforter for the 3rd time. The numbers didn't change. Rent, $1,200. Electric, $150. Phone, $80. Groceries, $300. Harmony school supplies, $75. Car payment, $245. Insurance, $200. Daycare, $600. Her paycheck, $2,400. She was short. Again. Even working double shifts at the hospital and picking up weekend hours at the coffee shop, she was always short. The calculator app on her phone confirmed what she already knew. She needed another $300 just to break even, and that was without saving anything for emergencies. Mommy? Harmony's voice came from the doorway. At 6 years old, she was too smart for her own good, those bright brown eyes always noticing when her mother was stressed. Yes, baby? Are you sad again? Simone's heart cracked a little more. She quickly swept the bills into a pile and forced a smile. No, sweetie. Mommy's just tired. Did you finish your homework? Harmony nodded, her pigtails bouncing. Mrs. Patterson says we need new crayons for art class. The 64-pack with the sharpener. $25 for crayons. Simone had seen the list that came home from school. It might as well have been a wish list for the moon. But she'd find a way. She always did. We'll get them this weekend, okay? Can we get the ones with glitter? We'll see. That phrase had become Simone's default answer for everything. Can we go to the movies? We'll see. Can I take dance classes like Emma? We'll see. Can Daddy come visit? We'll see. The truth was, Harmony's father had disappeared the moment he found out Simone was pregnant. No phone calls, no child support, no forwarding address. Just gone like he'd never existed at all. Sometimes Simone wondered if she'd imagined the whole relationship. She'd been young and stupid, 21 and in love with a man who promised her the world. Instead, he'd left her with stretch marks, a beautiful daughter, and a crushing sense of responsibility that never went away. The worst part wasn't even the money. It was the loneliness. The way other parents looked at her at school pickup like being a single mother was contagious. The way her own family had reacted when she refused to give Harmony up for adoption. Her mother still sent Christmas cards addressed to Simone and family, as if Harmony didn't have a name. Working at the hospital was both a blessing and a curse. She loved helping people, loved the feeling of making a difference. But every day she saw families together, couples supporting each other through difficult times, fathers holding their newborn babies with tears in their eyes. It reminded her of everything she didn't have. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rita, her colleague from the hospital. "Girl, you need to get out. When's the last time you did something fun?" Simone almost laughed. Fun? What was that? Between work and Harmony, she barely had time to shower, let alone have fun. But as she looked around her tiny bedroom at the stack of bills and the uniform hanging on the closet door waiting for tomorrow's shift, she realized Rita was right. She was drowning. Not just financially but emotionally. She was so focused on surviving that she'd forgotten how to live. Maybe it was time to try something different. Maybe it was time to take a risk. Little did she know, across town, Nathan Richardson was thinking the exact same thing. Now, before we continue this story that will warm your heart and restore your faith in love, I have to ask, are you someone who believes that true love can overcome any obstacle? That sometimes our biggest disasters lead to our greatest blessings? If you believe in the power of second chances and happily ever after, please subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think will happen next. Your support means everything to this storyteller. Jake Morrison had been Nathan's best friend since college, which meant he was one of the few people brave enough to walk into the penthouse unannounced and tell Nathan exactly what he thought of his current situation. "You smell like a brewery," Jake said, wrinkling his nose as he entered the living room. "And you look like you haven't shaved in a week." "Good morning to you too," Nathan muttered, not looking up from his laptop. He was pretending to work, but Jake could see the screen was showing a news article about accessible vacation destinations. Not exactly the quarterly reports Nathan claimed to be reviewing. Jake sat down across from Nathan, his expression serious. "We need to talk. If this is about the Henderson contract, I told you to handle it. It's not about work." Jake leaned forward. "It's about you." Nathan finally looked up, his dark eyes flashing with irritation. "I'm fine. You're not fine. You're miserable and you're making everyone around you miserable too. When's the last time you left this apartment?" "I don't need to leave. I have everything I need here." "You have everything you need to exist. That's not the same as living." Jake pulled out his phone. "I want to show you something." Nathan tried to look away but Jake was persistent. On the phone screen was a photo from 2 years ago. Nathan at his company's annual charity gala, wearing a tuxedo and a genuine smile, surrounded by friends and colleagues. He looked confident, happy, alive. "Remember this guy?" Jake asked. "That guy could walk," Nathan said bitterly. "That guy could smile." "When's the last time you smiled, Nathan? Really smiled?" Nathan didn't have an answer for that. Jake put his phone away and leaned back in his chair. "I'm going to tell you something and you're not going to like it. But I'm saying it because I'm your friend and because I care about what happens to you." "Here it comes," Nathan muttered. "You're being selfish." The words hit Nathan like a slap. "Excuse me? You heard me. You're so wrapped up in what you can't do anymore that you've forgotten about what you can do. You're alive, Nathan. You have your mind, your hands, your ability to love and be loved. But instead of focusing on that, you're throwing a 3-month pity party and expecting everyone to attend." Nathan's jaw clenched. "You have no idea what it's like." "You're right, I don't. And I'm not trying to minimize what you've been through. But I know what it's like to watch my best friend disappear into a hole and refuse to let anyone help him climb out." They sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Jake spoke again. "I want you to do something for me. I'm not going to therapy again." "Not therapy. A date." Nathan stared at him. "Hey, what?" "A date. You know, dinner with another human being. Conversation. Maybe even a laugh or two." "Are you insane?" "Look at me, Jake. What woman would want to date a guy in a wheelchair? The right woman wouldn't care about the wheelchair." "That's easy for you to say." Jake pulled out his phone again. "There's this woman I want you to meet. Her name is Simone. She's a nurse at General Hospital." "No." "She's beautiful, kind, smart." "No." "She has a daughter." "Definitely no." Jake put his phone down and looked Nathan directly in the eyes. "Here's the deal. You go on this one date or I stop coming to see you." Nathan couldn't hide his shock. "You're blackmailing me?" "I'm giving you an ultimatum. Because watching you waste away is killing me too." Jake's voice cracked slightly. "I miss my friend. I miss the guy who used to laugh at my terrible jokes and stay up all night working on crazy business ideas. I miss the guy who believed anything was possible. Nathan felt something shift in his chest. Not hope exactly, but maybe the possibility of hope. One date, Jake continued. Just one. If it's awful, I'll never mention dating again. But if there's even a tiny spark of something, you have to promise me you'll try. Across town, Rita Martinez was having a similar conversation with Simone in the hospital break room. You need to get out, Rita said, unwrapping her sandwich. When's the last time you talked to an adult who wasn't giving you a patient report or asking for a refill on coffee? Simone stirred her yogurt absently. I talk to adults all the time. Work adults don't count. I'm talking about fun adults. Adults who might want to buy you dinner and tell you you're pretty. I don't have time for dating, Rita. You know that. That's exactly why you need to make time. Rita reached across the table and grabbed Simone's hand. Honey, you're 28 years old. You're beautiful, smart, funny when you're not exhausted. You deserve to have someone special in your life. Harmony is special. She's all I need. Harmony deserves to see her mother happy. Really happy, not just surviving. Simone sighed. Even if I wanted to date, who's going to watch Harmony? Babysitters cost money I don't have. I'll watch her. Rita, you have your own life. My life includes caring about you. And Harmony loves me. We'll have a girls' night. We'll paint our nails and watch princess movies and eat too much ice cream. Despite herself, Simone smiled. She would love that. So you'll do it? Do what exactly? Rita grinned. Go on a blind date with this guy I know. Oh no. No. Blind dates are disasters waiting to happen. Not always. Sometimes they're miracles waiting to happen. Rita. His name is Nathan. He's successful, handsome, and according to my friend Jake, he really needs to meet someone like you. Someone like me? What's that supposed to mean? Someone real. Someone who's been through challenges and come out stronger. Someone who knows what it means to fight for what matters. Simone shook her head. Successful guys don't want to date single mothers, Rita. Trust me, I learned that lesson the hard way. This one might be different. They're never different. Rita leaned forward, her expression serious. What if he is? What if this is your chance at something amazing, and you miss it because you're too scared to try? Simone considered this. She thought about her empty apartment, her stack of bills, her lonely nights after Harmony went to bed. Maybe Rita was right. Maybe she was so focused on protecting herself from disappointment that she was missing out on possibilities. One date, Rita pressed. Just one. I'll watch Harmony, I'll help you find something to wear, and if it's terrible, we'll never speak of it again. And if it's good? Then maybe you'll remember what it feels like to be happy. Later that evening, both Nathan and Simone found themselves staring at their phones, each holding the number their friend had given them. Nathan typed and deleted the same text message 5 times. Finally, he settled on something simple. Hi, this is Nathan. Jake gave me your number. Would you like to have dinner Friday night? Simone read the message 3 times before responding. Hi Nathan. Rita told me you might call. Dinner sounds nice. They arranged to meet at Romano's, a mid-level Italian restaurant downtown. Neither of them mentioned that they were both terrified. Nathan spent the rest of the week wondering what he'd gotten himself into. Simone spent it trying to figure out what to wear with a budget of $0. Neither of them had any idea that Friday night would change both of their lives forever. Friday arrived with unseasonable rain that seemed to mock Nathan's already fragile confidence. He'd changed clothes 3 times, settling on a navy blazer and white button-down shirt that he hoped struck the right balance between formal and approachable. His hands shook slightly as he transferred from his bed to his wheelchair, a reminder that even simple tasks required more effort now. The restaurant was only 15 minutes from his penthouse, but Nathan arrived 20 minutes early, needing the extra time to scout the location. Romano's claimed to be wheelchair accessible, but Nathan had learned that accessible could mean anything from a narrow ramp to a back entrance through the kitchen. Fortunately, the main entrance was genuinely accessible, and the hostess seemed unfazed by his wheelchair. Table for Richardson, he told her. I'm expecting someone. Right this way, sir. She led him to a table in the middle of the dining room, and Nathan immediately saw the problem. The table was fixed to the floor with no way to remove a chair for his wheelchair. He'd have to sit at an awkward angle, partially blocking the aisle. Could we try a different table? He asked, trying to keep the frustration out of his voice. Of course. The hostess looked around uncertainly. How about over here? The second table was worse, wedged between 2 other tables with barely enough room for Nathan to maneuver. He was starting to sweat despite the air conditioning. "You know what, the first table is fine," he said, defeated before the date had even begun. Meanwhile, Simone was having her own crisis in the parking lot. The rain had started just as she left her apartment, and she'd forgotten an umbrella. Her dress, borrowed from Rita and a size too small, was already damp and clinging uncomfortably to her body. The restaurant looked expensive, much fancier than the casual dinner she'd been expecting. She checked her reflection in her car mirror one more time, trying to smooth down her hair and wipe away the mascara that had smudged under her eyes. This had been a mistake. She didn't belong in a place like this, didn't belong on a date with someone successful. She should just drive home, make an excuse later. But then she thought about Rita watching Harmony, about how excited her daughter had been to help her get ready, about how long it had been since she'd done something just for herself. Taking a deep breath, Simone made a run for the restaurant entrance. Inside, Nathan was checking his watch for the 10th time. 7:15. She was 15 minutes late. Maybe she wasn't coming. Maybe she'd taken one look at the restaurant and decided she could do better than a disabled guy who couldn't even figure out where to sit. Then he saw her. Simone stood in the entrance, shaking water from her hair and looking around uncertainly. She was beautiful, but not in the polished, artificial way of the women Nathan was used to dating. Her beauty was natural, unguarded. When she smiled at the hostess, her whole face lit up. "Simone." He waved from his awkward position at the table. She walked over, and Nathan tried to stand out of habit before remembering he couldn't. The moment was awkward, neither of them sure how to greet each other. "I'm sorry I'm late," Simone said, slightly out of breath. "The rain caught me off guard." "No problem at all. I'm Nathan." "Simone." She looked around uncertainly. "This place is really nice." "Too nice." She laughed, and the sound was genuine and warm. "Maybe a little. I was expecting more of a casual spot. We could go somewhere else if you'd prefer." No, it's fine. She gestured at her damp dress. "I'm not exactly dressed for fine dining." "You look beautiful," Nathan said, and meant it. Simone blushed and took her seat across from him. The positioning was awkward, with Nathan angled away from the table, but they both tried to ignore it. Their server appeared almost immediately, a young man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Good evening. Can I start you with something to drink?" "I'll have a glass of the house red," Nathan said. "Actually, could you tell us about the wine list?" Simone asked. The server launched into a lengthy description of vintages and flavor profiles that made both Nathan and Simone's eyes glaze over. "You know what?" Simone interrupted. "I'll just have a Coke." "We don't serve Coca-Cola," the server said with barely concealed disdain. "We have Pellegrino, imported sparkling water, or several artisanal sodas." "Water is fine," Simone said quietly. Nathan could see her shrinking into herself, intimidated by the restaurant's pretentious atmosphere. "Actually, let's both have water. And maybe you could bring us some bread while we look at the menu?" "Of course, sir." As the server walked away, Simone looked apologetic. "I'm sorry. I'm not used to places like this." "Neither am I really," Nathan admitted. "I mean, I've been to fancy restaurants, but they usually make me feel like I'm performing instead of eating." They shared a smile, the first genuine moment of connection since she'd arrived. Things seemed to be improving until Nathan tried to move closer to the table. His wheelchair caught on something, and when he tried to back up and adjust, the wheel stuck completely. He was trapped, unable to move forward or backward. "Oh no," he muttered, struggling with the chair. "Are you okay?" Simone started to get up to help. "I'm fine, Nathan pushed harder on the wheels, his face reddening with embarrassment and effort. Other diners were starting to stare. Nathan could feel their eyes on him, could hear the whispered comments. His worst fear was coming true. He was making a scene, proving that he didn't belong in the normal world. "Here, let me help," Simone said, moving around to see what was causing the problem. "I can handle it," Nathan said through gritted teeth. But he couldn't handle it. The more he struggled, the more stuck he became. Finally, Simone ignored his protests and knelt down beside his chair, her dress getting dirty on the restaurant floor. "Your wheel is caught on this table leg," she said practically. "If we lift the chair slightly and angle it this way." Working together, they freed the wheelchair, but not before attracting the attention of half the restaurant. "Thank you," Nathan said, his voice tight with humiliation. "No problem." Simone straightened her dress and sat back down like nothing had happened. Nathan was ready to ask for the check and end the disaster of an evening, but then their server returned with their water glasses. And proceeded to spill an entire glass of ice water directly onto Simone's lap. "Oh my God," the server said, looking panicked. "I'm so sorry." Simone gasped and jumped up, water dripping from her dress. The borrowed dress that she'd have to replace. The dress that probably cost more than she made in a day. "It's okay," she said automatically, even though it clearly wasn't okay. Nathan could see tears forming in her eyes, could see her fighting to maintain her composure. In that moment, something shifted inside him. This wasn't about his embarrassment anymore. This was about a woman who was clearly struggling, trying to put on a brave face in a situation that was completely out of her comfort zone. "Actually, it's not okay," Nathan said firmly. He looked up at the server. "We'd like to speak to your manager." "That's really not necessary," Simone said quickly. "Yes, it is." The manager appeared within minutes, full of apologies and offers of complimentary dry cleaning. But before he could finish his spiel, the lights went out. Complete darkness fell over the restaurant. Emergency lighting kicked in a few seconds later, casting everything in an eerie red glow. The manager was making announcements about a power outage in the neighborhood, promising that normal lighting would be restored soon. Nathan looked at Simone across the table. Her dress was soaked, her hair was still damp from the rain, and she was sitting in a restaurant that was now lit like a horror movie. By all rights, she should be furious or in tears or demanding to leave. Instead, she started to laugh. It started as a small giggle but quickly grew into full, honest laughter. The kind of laughter that was contagious. "This is unbelievable," she said between laughs. "I mean, what are the odds?" Nathan found himself smiling for the first time in months. Then chuckling. Then laughing along with her. "I'm so sorry," he said. "This has to be the worst first date in history." "Are you kidding?" Simone wiped tears from her eyes. "This is the most memorable first date I've ever had. I'll be telling this story for years." The server approached with candles, transforming their table into something intimate and romantic despite the chaos around them. "You know what?" Nathan said, feeling lighter than he had since his accident. "Let's start over. Hi, I'm Nathan Richardson, and apparently I specialize in disaster dates." Simone grinned. "Nice to meet you, Nathan. I'm Simone Williams, and apparently I'm exactly the right person to appreciate a good disaster." And in the candlelight, with her dress damp and his wheelchair still slightly askew, they began to really see each other for the first time. The following Monday morning, Nathan found himself doing something he hadn't done in months, getting dressed with care and purpose. Not because he had a business meeting, not because Jake was dragging him somewhere, but because he was planning to leave his penthouse voluntarily. The date with Simone had ended better than it started. After the power came back on, they'd shared appetizers and talked for hours about everything from their childhoods to their dreams. She told him about nursing school and her daughter Harmony. He'd shared stories about building his company, carefully avoiding the details of his accident. When he'd finally asked if she'd like to see him again, she'd said yes without hesitation. But now, 3 days later, Nathan was second-guessing everything. In the candlelight of the restaurant, it had been easy to believe that Simone might actually be interested in him. In the harsh light of day, doubts crept in. She was probably just being polite. She probably went home and told her friends about the pathetic man in the wheelchair who couldn't even navigate a restaurant properly. Still, he found himself heading to the coffee shop where she'd mentioned working part-time. Just to see the neighborhood, he told himself. Not because he was hoping to run into her. Their coffee shop was nothing like the upscale cafes Nathan usually frequented. It was small and cramped, with mismatched furniture and local art covering every inch of the walls. The smell of coffee mixed with fresh pastries, and there was a comfortable buzz of conversation from customers who seemed to know each other. Nathan maneuvered his wheelchair through the narrow entrance, immediately regretting his decision. This place wasn't designed for wheelchairs. He'd have to navigate around closely placed tables and a counter that was too high for him to see over properly. "Nathan." He turned to see Simone behind the counter, wearing a green apron over jeans and a t-shirt. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she looked younger and more relaxed than she had at the restaurant. "Hi," he said, feeling suddenly nervous. "I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd grab a coffee." "Of course." Her smile seemed genuine, warm. "What can I get you?" "Just a regular coffee. Black." "Coming right up." She poured the coffee with practiced efficiency, then hesitated. "My break starts in 10 minutes. Would you like some company?" Nathan's heart jumped. "I'd like that." She handed him the coffee and pointed to a small table near the window. "That one has a removable chair if it's easier for you." Nathan was touched by her thoughtfulness. Most people either ignored his needs completely or made a huge production out of accommodating him. Simone simply noticed and offered a solution. 10 minutes later, she joined him with her own cup of coffee and what looked like a homemade muffin. "Breakfast?" she asked, breaking the muffin in half and offering him a piece. "Thanks." He took a bite and was surprised by how good it was. "Did you make this?" "Guilty. I come in early sometimes to bake. The owner lets me take home whatever doesn't sell." She paused. "It helps with the grocery budget." There was no shame in her voice, just practical honesty. Nathan found it refreshing after years of dating women who pretended money didn't matter because they'd never had to worry about it. "It's delicious. You're very talented. It's just a hobby. Something I learned from my grandmother." Simone sipped her coffee. "So what brings you to this part of town?" "It's not exactly your neighborhood." Nathan felt heat rise in his cheeks. "I wanted to see you again." The honesty surprised both of them. "I'm glad," Simone said softly. "I wasn't sure if Friday night was. With everything that went wrong." "Friday night was perfect," Nathan said firmly. "Not because nothing went wrong but because of how you handled everything that did go wrong. You were gracious and funny and kind. You made me feel normal. You are normal. Most people don't see it that way." Simone reached across the table and touched his hand briefly. "Then most people are idiots." They talked until Simone's break was over, making plans to see each other again that weekend. As Nathan prepared to leave, he impulsively asked, "Would you like me to drive you home after your shift?" "It's starting to rain again." "That's really sweet, but I take the bus. My car is in the shop." "All the more reason to let me drive you." Simone hesitated. "I have to pick up Harmony from after-school care first. I'd like to meet her if that's okay." Something shifted in Simone's expression. "Are you sure? Most guys run when they find out about the single mom thing." "I'm not most guys." "No," Simone said, studying his face. "You're really not." Later that afternoon, Nathan waited outside Bright Horizons after-school care in his specially modified SUV. He'd had the vehicle customized with hand controls so he could drive independently, one of the few accommodations he'd embraced wholeheartedly. Simone emerged from the building holding hands with a little girl who looked exactly like her. Same warm brown eyes, same bright smile, same natural beauty. Harmony skipped along beside her mother, chattering about her day. "Harmony," Simone said as they approached the car, "I want you to meet my friend Nathan." Nathan had worried about how to interact with a 6-year-old from his wheelchair, but Harmony took it completely in stride. "Hi Nathan," she said cheerfully. "My mom said you have a really cool car. Would you like to see it?" Nathan asked. Harmony's eyes lit up. Nathan showed her the hand controls, explaining how they worked. She was fascinated by the mechanical aspects, asking intelligent questions that impressed him. "Can I sit in the front seat?" she asked. "If your mom says it's okay." Simone smiled. "Just for a minute." As Harmony explored the car, Nathan and Simone stood together on the sidewalk. "She's amazing," Nathan said. "She is. She's also very good at reading people. If she didn't like you, she'd let you know. And I think you passed the test." The drive to Simone's apartment was filled with Harmony's chatter about school, her friends, and her favorite TV shows. Nathan found himself genuinely engaged, asking follow-up questions and sharing stories from his own childhood. It had been years since he'd talked to a child, and he'd forgotten how refreshing their perspective could be. When they arrived at Simone's apartment complex, Nathan was struck by how different it was from his own living situation. The buildings were older, showing wear around the edges, but they were clean and well-maintained. Families moved around the courtyard, children playing while parents watched from nearby benches. "Thank you for the ride," Simone said. "And for being so sweet with Harmony. Thank you for letting me meet her. She's wonderful. Would you like to come up for dinner?" "Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and salad." Nathan hesitated. He'd never been inside a place like this, wasn't sure if his wheelchair would fit in the elevator or hallways. But something about Simone's invitation, so natural and unforced, made him want to try. "I'd love to." The elevator was small but functional, and Simone's apartment was on the second floor. As she unlocked the door, Nathan could hear soft music playing inside. "Sorry about the mess," Simone said, though the apartment was spotlessly clean. Nathan looked around, taking in the small living room with its second-hand furniture and carefully arranged decorations. Children's artwork covered the refrigerator, and books were stacked on every available surface. It felt like a home in a way his penthouse never had. "It's perfect," he said, and meant it. Over dinner, Nathan watched Simone and Harmony together, struck by the easy affection between them. Harmony helped set the table and cleared her own dishes without being asked. She included Nathan in the conversation naturally, treating him like an old family friend. "Nathan," Harmony said as they finished eating, "do you want to see my room?" Nathan looked at Simone, who nodded encouragingly. Harmony's room was tiny but organized with the precision of someone who understood the value of space. Her bed was made, her toys were put away, and her small desk was set up for homework. What struck Nathan most were the pictures covering one wall. Photos of Simone and Harmony together, artwork Harmony had created, certificates from school achievements. "This is my favorite," Harmony said, pointing to a drawing of two stick figures holding hands. "That's me and Mommy." "It's beautiful," Nathan said. "You're a very good artist. I want to be an artist when I grow up. Or maybe a doctor like Mommy." "Your mom's a nurse, not a doctor. She helps sick people feel better. That's like being a doctor." Nathan smiled at her logic. "You're absolutely right." As the evening wound down, Nathan helped clear the dinner dishes, surprised by how natural it felt to be part of their routine. When it was time for Harmony's bath, he offered to leave, but Simone insisted he stay. "We'll just be a few minutes," she said. "Make yourself comfortable." Nathan looked around the living room, noting the stack of bills on the side table, the coupon book on the coffee table, the library books marked with due dates. This was real life, the kind he'd never experienced growing up wealthy or building his successful company. There was something both humbling and inspiring about seeing how Simone managed to create such a warm, loving home with so little. When Simone returned, Harmony was in her pajamas, hair still damp from her bath. "Can Nathan read me a story?" Harmony asked. Nathan looked at Simone, who seemed surprised but pleased by the request. "If he wants to," she said. Nathan had never read to a child before, but he found himself enjoying the simple act of sharing a story. Harmony curled up next to him on the couch, completely unself-conscious about his wheelchair. She asked questions about the characters and made predictions about what would happen next. By the time the story was over, Harmony was yawning. "Time for bed, sweetie," Simone said. "Good night, Nathan," Harmony said, giving him a spontaneous hug that nearly brought tears to his eyes. After Harmony was tucked in, Nathan and Simone sat together on the couch, comfortable in the quiet evening atmosphere. "Thank you," Nathan said, "for letting me be part of this." "Thank you for wanting to be part of it," Simone replied. "Most men would have run by now. I meant what I said earlier. I'm not most men. I can see that." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both aware that something significant had shifted between them. This wasn't just about attraction anymore. This was about connection, about family, about the possibility of building something real together. When Nathan finally left that night, he drove home with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in months. For the first time since his accident, he wasn't thinking about what he'd lost. He was thinking about what he might gain. The call came at 6 in the morning. Nathan was already awake, having developed insomnia since his accident, when his phone rang with an unknown number. "Nathan? It's Simone. I'm sorry to call so early, but I didn't know who else to." Her voice was shaky, stressed in a way he'd never heard before. "What's wrong?" "My car broke down completely. The mechanic says it needs a new transmission, which costs more than the car is worth. I have to work a double shift today and Harmony has school, and the bus doesn't run early enough for me to get her there on time, and I can't afford to miss work because—" "Simone, breathe," Nathan said gently. "Where are you now?" "At home. I called in to see if I could switch shifts with someone, but we're already short-staffed and if I don't show up, they might write me up and I can't afford to lose this job." Nathan was already transferring to his wheelchair. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Nathan, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I'll drive you and Harmony wherever you need to go." "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." When Nathan arrived at Simone's apartment complex, he found her waiting outside with Harmony, both of them looking stressed and tired. Simone was in her scrubs, her hair hastily pulled back, and Harmony was clutching her backpack with both hands. "Are you sure about this?" Simone asked as they got into his SUV. "It's going to be a long day. I don't get off until 11 tonight." "I'm sure," Nathan said firmly. "And I have an idea about your car situation. Nathan, if you're thinking about lending me money, I'm thinking about solving the problem permanently." After dropping Harmony at school, Nathan drove Simone to the hospital. During the ride, he made several phone calls, speaking quickly and quietly while she tried not to listen. "What was that about?" she asked as they pulled into the hospital parking lot. "Nothing important. I'll pick you up at 11. "Nathan, you really don't have to." "Simone." He reached over and took her hand. "Let me help. Please." There was something in his voice, a sincerity that made her nod reluctantly. Okay. But this is above and beyond friend duty. Good thing I'm hoping to be more than a friend. The comment made her smile despite her stress. We'll see about that. After dropping Simone off, Nathan spent the morning making arrangements. First he called his mechanic, Tony, who owed him several favors. I need you to look at a car, Nathan said. A woman named Simone Williams. Her number is in my phone. Whatever's wrong with it, fix it. Send me the bill. Sure thing, Mr. Richardson. How much are we talking about? Whatever it costs. And Tony? She doesn't need to know I'm paying for it. Tell her it's covered under some kind of warranty or something. You got it. Next, he called his assistant, Maria, one of the few employees who hadn't quit during his difficult period. I need you to arrange something for me, Nathan said. There's a little girl named Harmony Williams. She goes to Roosevelt Elementary. I want to set up an account at the school store so she can buy whatever supplies she needs. Books, art materials, whatever kids need these days. How much should I put in the account? Start with $5,000. And Maria? Make it anonymous. The family shouldn't know where it came from. Of course, Mr. Richardson. Nathan's final call was to his lawyer. I want to set up a scholarship fund, he said. 4 single mothers who want to advance their nursing education. Start with $100,000 and see how many people we can help. Any particular criteria? Nathan thought about Simone's determination, her grace under pressure, her devotion to her daughter. Women who are already working as nurses but want to specialize. Women who are raising children alone. Women who just need someone to believe in them. By afternoon, Nathan was feeling more energized than he had in months. He picked up Harmony from school, and she chattered happily about her day as they drove to the hospital to surprise Simone during her dinner break. Nathan brought me a snack, Harmony announced when they found Simone in the break room. And he helped me with my math homework. Simone looked between them, noting how comfortable they'd become with each other. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, Nathan said. Besides, Harmony is excellent company. She's teaching me about modern art. I showed him my drawing of our family, Harmony said proudly. Simone's eyebrows rose. Our family? Me and you and Nathan, Harmony said matter-of-factly. He said it was very good. Nathan caught Simone's eye over Harmony's head, both of them aware of the significance of a 6-year-old including him in her family portrait. Later that evening, while Harmony did homework in Nathan's SUV, Nathan and Simone walked around the hospital parking lot during her break. You don't have to spend your whole day taking care of us, Simone said. I appreciate it more than I can say, but I don't want you to feel obligated. I don't feel obligated, Nathan replied. I feel useful. Do you know what that's like? For the first time in months, I feel like I'm making a difference in someone's life. You're making a huge difference. But Nathan, I can't afford to pay you back for gas money, let alone whatever favor you called in to get my car fixed. Nathan stopped walking. What are you talking about? The mechanic called this afternoon. He said my car was covered under some extended warranty I didn't know I had, and it'll be ready tomorrow morning, good as new. Simone crossed her arms. I may not have a lot of money, Nathan, but I'm not stupid. I know you arranged this. Nathan considered denying it, but something in Simone's expression told him she wouldn't believe him. Yes, I paid for it, he said finally. And before you get angry, let me tell you why. I'm listening. Because I can. Because I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and you're working yourself to death trying to provide for your daughter. Because helping you makes me feel like myself again. Nathan. I'm not trying to buy your affection or make you feel indebted to me. I'm trying to solve problems that shouldn't exist. A dedicated nurse and loving mother shouldn't have to choose between car payments and groceries. A brilliant little girl shouldn't have to worry about whether her mom can afford school supplies. Simone stared at him. School supplies? Nathan realized he'd revealed more than he intended. There might be an account at Harmony's school now. For emergencies. How much? Enough. Simone sat down heavily on a nearby bench. I can't accept this. Why not? Because I barely know you. Because it's too much. Because I don't want to be a charity case. Nathan sat beside her, choosing his words carefully. 3 months ago, I was in a hospital bed, and the doctors were telling me I'd never walk again. I wanted to die. I pushed away everyone who tried to help me because I was so angry and ashamed. Simone listened silently. Then I met you, Nathan continued. And for the first time since my accident, I remembered what it felt like to hope. You did that. Just by being yourself, by treating me like a person instead of a disability, by letting me into your life. That's different. How? That's just being human. Exactly. And being human means helping each other when we can. I can help with money. You help with something much more valuable. What's that? You help me remember why life is worth living. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the evening sky darken over the city. I still don't like it, Simone said finally. You don't have to like it. But will you accept it? Simone thought about her morning panic, about the stack of bills on her table, about Harmony's excited chatter about the art supplies she needed for her school project. On one condition, she said. What's that? If we're going to do this, if we're going to be in each other's lives, then it has to be real. Not you rescuing me and not me fixing you. Real partnership. What does that look like? It looks like you letting me help you too. It looks like you telling me what you need, not just what you think I want to hear. It looks like us building something together instead of you just giving me things. Nathan considered this. He was used to being the one with the solutions, the one who fixed problems with money and connections. The idea of actually needing someone, of being vulnerable enough to accept help, was terrifying. But it was also exactly what he wanted. Deal? He said, extending his hand. Simone shook it, smiling. Deal. That night, Nathan drove them home with a sense of completion he hadn't felt in years. As they pulled into Simone's parking lot, Harmony was fast asleep in the back seat, and Simone was looking at him with something that might have been love. Nathan, she said softly. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. Thank you for letting me. As he watched them walk into their apartment building, Nathan realized that somewhere in the process of trying to help Simone, he'd started healing himself. 3 weeks had passed since the night Nathan first had dinner in Simone's apartment, and their relationship had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Nathan would pick up Harmony from school on days when Simone worked late. Simone would bring homemade dinner to Nathan's penthouse on her days off. They'd begun to function as a unit, supporting each other in ways that felt natural and necessary. But there were still walls between them. Conversations that stopped just short of complete honesty. Questions that remained unasked. Nathan hadn't told Simone the full story of his accident, and Simone hadn't shared the complete truth about Harmony's father. Tonight that was going to change. Nathan had invited them for dinner at his penthouse, and for the first time he was planning to cook. Not order takeout from an expensive restaurant, not have his former chef prepare something elaborate. He wanted to make dinner with his own hands, to create something meaningful for the two people who had become the center of his world. The kitchen in his penthouse was designed for someone who didn't actually cook, all granite countertops and professional-grade appliances that had never been used. Nathan had spent the afternoon watching YouTube videos about making spaghetti sauce from scratch and practicing his wheelchair maneuvers around the kitchen island. When Simone and Harmony arrived at 7, the penthouse smelled like garlic and herbs, and Nathan was covered in flour. Something smells amazing, Simone said, kissing him hello. The casual intimacy of the gesture still surprised him, the way she'd begun to treat affection as natural and expected. Nathan's cooking, Harmony announced, as if this was the most exciting thing that had ever happened. I'm attempting to cook, Nathan corrected. The success of this endeavor is still up for debate. Simone looked around the kitchen, taking in the chaos of ingredients and cooking utensils spread across every surface. Nathan had clearly been ambitious in his preparation. Can I help? She asked. Actually, I was hoping you'd let me take care of you for once, Nathan said. Both of you. Go sit down, relax. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. Simone started to protest, but something in Nathan's expression stopped her. This was important to him, she realized. Not just the dinner but the act of providing for them. Okay, she said. But if you need anything, I'll ask. That was part of our deal, remember? While Nathan finished preparing dinner, Simone and Harmony explored his living room. Harmony was fascinated by the floor-to-ceiling windows and the view of the city below. Simone was struck by how different the apartment looked now compared to her first visit weeks ago. There were pictures on the side tables now, including several of the three of them together. The space felt warmer, more lived in. Simone, Nathan called from the kitchen. Could you come here for a minute? She found him standing next to the stove, using a wooden spoon to stir sauce in a large pot. The sight of him cooking, so domestic and normal, made her heart skip. Taste this, he said, offering her the spoon. The sauce was perfect, rich and flavorful, with just the right balance of herbs and spices. This is incredible, she said. Where did you learn to cook like this? YouTube University, Nathan admitted with a grin. I wanted tonight to be special. Why? Nathan turned off the burner and faced her completely. Because I need to tell you something. About my accident. About why I was so angry when we met. Simone felt her stomach tighten. She'd been waiting for this conversation, but she was also afraid of it. What if Nathan's story changed how she felt about him? What if there were things in his past that she couldn't accept? You don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to share, she said. I'm ready. I want you to know everything. They called Harmony for dinner, and Nathan served his homemade pasta with pride. Harmony declared it the best spaghetti in the whole world, and even Simone had to admit it was restaurant quality. As they ate, Nathan told them about growing up wealthy but lonely, with parents who were more interested in their social status than their son. He talked about building his company from a college dorm room, about the satisfaction of creating something meaningful, about the long hours and single-minded focus that had made him successful but isolated. I thought I had everything figured out, he said. I had money, success, respect. I thought that was enough. What changed? Simone asked gently. Nathan was quiet for a moment, twirling pasta around his fork without eating it. I was driving home from a business dinner, he said finally. It was late and I was tired. I'd been working 18-hour days for weeks trying to close a major deal. I was talking on the phone, not really paying attention to the road. Harmony had finished her dinner and was coloring at the table, absorbed in her artwork and only half listening to the adult conversation. There was a drunk driver, Nathan continued. He ran a red light and hit my car on the driver's side. The impact sent my car rolling. When I woke up in the hospital 3 days later, the doctors told me I'd never walk again. Simone reached across the table and took his hand. But that's not the worst part, Nathan said. The worst part is that I blamed everyone except myself. I blamed the other driver, the hospital, the doctors who couldn't fix me. I blamed God, fate, the universe. I spent 3 months being angry at everyone who tried to help me. That's normal, Simone said. Grief and anger are part of processing trauma. Maybe. But I was so focused on what I'd lost that I couldn't see what I still had. It took meeting you to realize that my life wasn't over. It was just different. Nathan looked at Harmony, who was now showing her drawing to both of them, a picture of the three of them sitting at a dinner table. You both showed me that family isn't about being perfect, he continued. It's about showing up for each other. It's about choosing to love someone even when things get difficult. Simone felt tears prick her eyes. Nathan. I love you, he said simply. Both of you. And I need you to know that before I ask what I'm about to ask. Simone's heart stopped. What are you about to ask? Nathan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Harmony gasped and clapped her hands. Are you proposing? Nathan laughed. Not exactly. Not yet. He opened the box to reveal a simple gold necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a heart. This is a promise. A promise that I'm committed to building a life with both of you. A promise that I want to be part of your family permanently. Simone stared at the necklace, overwhelmed by the gesture and terrified by its implications. It's beautiful, she whispered. Will you wear it? Instead of answering immediately, Simone stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Nathan and Harmony watched her, both sensing that this was a crucial moment. I need to tell you something too, Simone said finally, still facing the window. About Harmony's father. About why I'm so scared of letting people into our lives. She turned around and Nathan could see the pain in her eyes. His name was Marcus, she began. I met him in college and I thought I was in love. He was charming and ambitious and full of big dreams about the future. When I got pregnant, he said all the right things. He talked about marriage and family and how excited he was to be a father. Harmony looked up from her coloring, sensing the shift in her mother's tone. What happened? Nathan asked gently. He disappeared. 2 weeks before Harmony was born, I came home from work and found a note on my kitchen table. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, that he needed to focus on his career, that he hoped I'd understand. Nathan felt anger rise in his chest, hot and protective. I haven't heard from him since, Simone continued. No phone calls, no birthday cards, no child support. It's like we never existed. She sat back down at the table, looking directly at Nathan. So when you talk about promises and commitment, part of me wants to believe you. But part of me remembers that someone else made similar promises and broke them without looking back. Nathan understood now why Simone was always so careful about accepting help, why she insisted on maintaining her independence even when he offered to make her life easier. I'm not him, Nathan said quietly. I know you're not. But fear isn't always rational. Nathan wheeled his chair closer to her, taking both of her hands in his. Then let's start small, he said. Not a promise about forever. Just a promise about today. I promise to be here today. I promise to love you both today. I promise to show up today. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow I'll make the same promise again. And the day after that. For as long as you'll let me. Simone looked at the necklace in the open box, then at Nathan's earnest face, then at Harmony, who was watching both of them with the intense focus that children brought to important moments. Okay, she said finally. I can handle today. Nathan smiled and lifted the necklace from the box. May I? Simone nodded and turned around, lifting her hair so he could fasten the clasp. The pendant rested just above her heart, and when she turned back around, Nathan thought she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. I love you too, she said softly. Both of you. Today. Harmony jumped up from her chair and wrapped her arms around both of them, creating an impromptu family hug that felt like the most natural thing in the world. Later that evening, after Harmony had fallen asleep on Nathan's couch and been carried to his guest room, Nathan and Simone sat together on his balcony, looking out at the city. Can I ask you something? Simone said. Anything. Are you sure about this? About us? Dating a single mother is complicated, and dating someone with a disability is complicated. Together, we're like a complication multiplied by another complication. Nathan laughed. When you put it that way, we sound like a math problem. I'm serious. Nathan turned his wheelchair to face her completely. Simone, 3 months ago I thought my life was over. I was angry, bitter, and convinced that no one would ever love me again. Then you walked into that restaurant, soaking wet and completely out of place, and you laughed at our disaster of a first date instead of running away. He reached for her hand. You didn't see my wheelchair first. You saw me. You didn't see Harmony as baggage. You introduced her as the most important person in your life. You showed me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be better than you are. You make me want to be better too, Simone said. Then we're even. They sat in comfortable silence, both processing the weight of what they'd shared. The city spread out below them, millions of people living their own complicated lives, searching for their own versions of happiness. Nathan. Simone said eventually. Yeah. I'm really glad Jake made you go on that blind date. Me too. Even if it was a complete disaster. Especially because it was a complete disaster. Anyone can have a perfect first date. It takes something special to survive a terrible one and still want to see each other again. Nathan brought her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles gently. Here's to surviving disasters, he said. And finding love in the chaos, Simone added. Above them, the stars were barely visible through the city lights, but somehow that didn't matter. They'd found something brighter than stars in each other. Are you feeling the magic of this love story? Sometimes the most beautiful relationships bloom from the most unexpected disasters. If you believe in second chances and the power of true love, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments. What do you think will challenge Nathan and Simone's relationship next? Your engagement helps me bring you more heartwarming stories like this one. 2 months after Nathan's promised dinner, their relationship had deepened into something that felt permanent and real. Nathan had essentially moved into Simone's small apartment, spending most nights on her couch so he could be part of their morning routine. He drove Harmony to school, helped with homework, and had become as natural a part of their daily life as breakfast and bedtime stories. But success in one area of life often created challenges in others. Nathan's business partner Jake had been covering for him during his recovery period, handling the majority of client meetings and company decisions. Now that Nathan was ready to be fully engaged with Richardson Industries again, there were complications. The first sign of trouble came during a board meeting on a Thursday morning. Nathan wheeled into the conference room to find the other board members already deep in conversation, their voices dropping to whispers when they saw him. Nathan, said Richard Sterling, the company's biggest investor. Good to see you looking well. Thank you, Richard. I'm feeling much better. Nathan took his place at the head of the conference table, noting the subtle shift in energy when he arrived. Jake looked uncomfortable, and the other board members seemed to be avoiding direct eye contact. So, Nathan said, opening his laptop. Let's talk about the Morrison account. Actually, Richard said, exchanging glances with the other board members, we need to discuss something else first. Nathan felt his stomach tighten. What's that? There have been some concerns raised about your personal life and how it might affect the company's image. I'm sorry, what? Richard cleared his throat uncomfortably. You've been seen around town with a single mother. Someone from a very different social background. There are questions about how this relationship might impact client relationships. The room fell silent. Nathan could feel his old anger rising, the fury that had consumed him in the months after his accident. "Are you questioning my judgment?" he asked quietly. "We're questioning the optics," said another board member, Margaret Chin. "Richardson Industries has always maintained a certain image. Stability, success, traditional values. This relationship suggests different priorities." Jake finally spoke up. "That's enough. Nathan's personal life is none of our business." "It becomes our business when it affects our bottom line," Richard replied. "We've already had 2 clients ask questions about Nathan's situation." Nathan's hands clenched into fists. "My situation? The wheelchair, the girlfriend with the child, the fact that you're spending more time playing house than focusing on company growth." The words hit Nathan like physical blows. Every insecurity he'd felt about his disability, every doubt about his worth since the accident, came flooding back. "Our quarterly numbers are up 15%, Nathan said through gritted teeth. "That's largely due to Jake's leadership during your absence," Margaret said. Nathan looked at Jake, who wouldn't meet his eyes. "Jake. The numbers speak for themselves," Jake said quietly. "I've been handling most of the major accounts. Because I was recovering from a life-altering injury. And now you're recovered, but your priorities seem to have shifted," Richard said. "We need to know that Richardson Industries comes first." Nathan felt the walls closing in around him. These people had been his colleagues, his business partners, for years. If they didn't believe in him anymore, if they saw his relationship with Simone as a liability rather than a source of strength, what did that say about his future? "What exactly are you asking me to do?" he said. Richard and Margaret exchanged another look. "We think it might be best if you took a step back from day-to-day operations," Richard said. "Let Jake handle the client relationships while you focus on adjusting to your new circumstances." The suggestion felt like a knife to Nathan's chest. They weren't just questioning his relationship with Simone. They were questioning his ability to lead, his value to the company he'd built from nothing. "I see," Nathan said, closing his laptop with deliberate calm. "And if I refuse? Then we'll have to consider whether this is the right leadership structure for the company moving forward." Nathan looked around the table at people he'd considered friends and allies. He realized that some relationships only survived as long as everything was easy. "I'll think about your suggestion," he said finally. The meeting ended in uncomfortable silence, with board members filing out quickly and avoiding further conversation. Jake lingered behind, looking guilty and conflicted. "Nathan, I want you to know that I didn't initiate this conversation," he said. "But you didn't shut it down either. The company has been my responsibility for months. It's been a lot of pressure." Nathan studied his best friend's face, seeing exhaustion and resentment that hadn't been there before. "Do you want me to step back?" Nathan asked directly. Jake hesitated just long enough for Nathan to have his answer. "I think you should focus on being happy," Jake said. "You found something real with Simone and Harmony. Maybe that's more important than quarterly reports." Nathan drove home in silence, Jake's words echoing in his mind. The suggestion that he had to choose between his career and his relationship felt impossible and unfair. Why couldn't he have both? When he arrived at Simone's apartment, she was in the kitchen preparing dinner while Harmony did homework at the small dining table. The scene was so domestic and peaceful that Nathan almost didn't want to disturb it with his problems. "How was your day?" Simone asked, kissing him hello and immediately sensing his tension. "Fine," Nathan said automatically. Simone gave him a look that said she didn't believe him for a second, but Harmony was present, so she didn't push. After dinner, when Harmony was in her room playing, Simone cornered Nathan on the couch. "Okay, what's wrong?" Nathan considered deflecting, but their relationship was built on honesty. "The board thinks our relationship is bad for business," he said. Simone felt her stomach drop. "What does that mean?" "It means they think I should choose between Richardson Industries and you." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. "And what do you think?" Simone asked quietly. "I think they're wrong. I think love makes people stronger, not weaker. I think having you and Harmony in my life makes me a better leader, not a worse one. But," Nathan sighed, "but they control the majority of the company's stock. If they want me out, they can vote me out." Simone stood up and paced to the window, her mind racing. She'd known this moment would come eventually. She'd known that Nathan's world and her world were too different to coexist without consequences. "Maybe they're right," she said finally. "What?" "Maybe I'm holding you back. Maybe you'd be better off with someone who fits into your world." Nathan wheeled over to where she was standing. Don't do that. Do what? Make this decision for me. We promised to face things together, remember? Simone turned to look at him, and Nathan could see tears in her eyes. I love you, she said. But I also know what it's like to have dreams and ambitions. I know what it's like to work your whole life building something important. I won't be the reason you lose everything you've worked for. You're not the reason. Their prejudice is the reason. Does it matter? The result is the same. Nathan reached for her hands, pulling her down so they were at eye level. Listen to me very carefully, he said. Richardson Industries is a company. You and Harmony are my family. Companies can be rebuilt. Family is irreplaceable. Nathan. I'm serious. If I have to choose, I choose you. Every time without hesitation. Simone started to cry then, overwhelmed by his words and terrified by their implications. But what if you resent me later? What if you wake up one day and realize you gave up everything for us? Then I'll remind myself that everything used to be an empty penthouse and a company full of people who only valued me when I was useful to them, Nathan said. Now everything is Harmony asking me to help with her math homework and you falling asleep in my arms and feeling like I belong somewhere. They held each other in silence, both aware that they were facing their first real test as a couple. What are we going to do? Simone asked. I don't know yet. But whatever we do it together. The next morning brought a new complication. Nathan's phone rang early before any of them were fully awake. Mr. Richardson? This is Jennifer Walsh from the Tribune business section. I'm calling about a story we're running tomorrow about changes in leadership at Richardson Industries. Nathan sat up in bed, immediately alert. What story? Sources close to the company are saying that you're planning to step down from active leadership due to health concerns and personal commitments that conflict with your professional responsibilities. Nathan felt cold fury wash over him. Someone on his board was already leaking information to the press, trying to control the narrative before he'd even made a decision. I have no comment at this time, he said. So you're not denying that there are concerns about your fitness to lead the company? I said no comment. Nathan hung up the phone and immediately called Jake. Did you know about this? He demanded when Jake answered. Know about what? The Tribune is running a story tomorrow about me stepping down. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Nathan, I think you should consider that maybe this is an opportunity. An opportunity? To start fresh. To build something new that reflects who you are now, not who you were before the accident. Nathan realized that Jake had already made peace with the idea of Nathan leaving Richardson Industries. Maybe he'd even encouraged it. I see, Nathan said quietly. You're going to be fine. Better than fine. And Simone and Harmony are lucky to have you. After Nathan hung up, he sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. The company he'd built from nothing was slipping away from him, and his best friend was helping it happen. Simone appeared in the doorway, fully dressed for work. I heard the phone ring, she said. Everything okay? Nathan looked at the woman who had become the center of his world, who was preparing to work another double shift to support her daughter, who worried more about his happiness than her own security. Everything's about to change, he said. Good change or bad change? Nathan stood up and moved to his wheelchair, his movements decisive and purposeful. I guess we'll find out. Nathan spent the weekend in his penthouse, not hiding but planning. He'd sent Simone and Harmony to Rita's house for a girls' weekend, claiming he needed time to think. In reality, he needed time to build. His dining room table was covered with legal documents, business plans and architectural drawings. His laptop showed multiple browser tabs, incorporation paperwork, medical facility licensing requirements, and a website for a high-end event planning company. If Richardson Industries didn't want him because of who he'd become, then he'd show them exactly who that was. Monday morning, Nathan called an emergency board meeting. Thank you all for coming, he said as the board members filed into the conference room, most of them looking uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact. Richard Sterling cleared his throat. Nathan, about the other day? Let me save you the trouble, Nathan interrupted. I know about the Tribune story. I know that you've already decided I'm not fit to lead this company anymore. Margaret's chin shifted uncomfortably. It's not personal, Nathan. It's business. You're absolutely right. It is business. Which is why I'm here to make you a business proposition. Nathan opened his laptop and connected it to the conference room's projection system. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present Richardson Medical Solutions. The screen filled with architectural renderings of a beautiful, modern medical facility designed with complete accessibility in mind. This is a comprehensive healthcare center specializing in outpatient procedures, rehabilitation services, and long-term care management, Nathan continued. The facility will employ over 200 people, including nurses, physical therapists, social workers, and administrative staff. The board members looked at each other uncertainly. Nathan, Richard said, what does this have to do with Richardson Industries? Nothing, Nathan replied. This is my new company. I'm buying out my shares in Richardson Industries and using that capital to launch something that actually matters to me. Jake leaned forward. You're serious? Completely serious. I've already secured the property, hired the architects, and begun the licensing process. What I'm offering you is the chance to invest in something revolutionary. Nathan clicked to the next slide, showing projected revenue and growth charts. The healthcare industry is expanding rapidly, especially in outpatient services and rehabilitation. This facility will serve an underserved population while generating significant returns for investors. Margaret looked intrigued despite herself. What's the initial investment requirement? $20 million to start. I'm putting in $15 million of my own money. I need $5 million from outside investors. Richard frowned. That's a substantial risk, Nathan. Healthcare is heavily regulated, and you have no experience in medical services. You're right. I don't have experience in healthcare. But I'm partnering with someone who does. Nathan clicked to the next slide, showing an organizational chart with his name as CEO and Simone's name as Chief Medical Officer. Simone Williams has 10 years of experience in hospital nursing, specializing in surgical recovery and patient care management. She'll be overseeing all medical operations while completing her nurse practitioner degree, which the company will fund. The room fell silent as the board members processed this information. You're making your girlfriend your business partner? Margaret asked. I'm making the most qualified person I know my business partner, Nathan corrected. The fact that I'm also in love with her is irrelevant to her professional capabilities. Jake looked conflicted. Nathan, are you sure about this? Starting a new company is risky under the best circumstances. Adding a romantic relationship to the mix is exactly what makes me confident it will succeed, Nathan finished. Simone and I aren't just building a business. We're building a legacy. Something that will serve our community and provide for our family. Richard leaned back in his chair, studying Nathan with new interest. You've really thought this through. I've done more than think about it. I've already hired the contractors. Groundbreaking is scheduled for next month. Nathan closed his laptop and looked around the table at people who had been his colleagues for years. I want to thank you all for your years of partnership, he said. Richardson Industries was my first success, but it won't be my last. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. He paused at the door. Oh, and Richard? The Tribune story was premature. I'm not stepping down due to health concerns. I'm stepping up to build something better. Nathan left the conference room with a sense of liberation he hadn't felt since before his accident. For the first time in months, he was moving towards something instead of away from something. His next stop was the hospital where Simone worked. He found her in the break room during her lunch hour, eating a yogurt and reviewing patient charts. Nathan. She looked surprised to see him. What are you doing here? I have something to show you. He handed her a folder containing the architectural plans for Richardson Medical Solutions. Simone opened the folder and stared at the drawings, her expression shifting from confusion to amazement. What is this? It's our future. If you want it. Nathan explained his plan, watching Simone's face as she processed the magnitude of what he was proposing. You want me to be your business partner? She asked finally. I want you to be my everything partner. Business, life, family. I want us to build something together that reflects our values and serves people who need help. Simone flipped through the architectural drawings, noting the thoughtful design elements. Wheelchair-accessible exam rooms, family consultation areas, a children's play space for patients with kids. Nathan, this is incredible. But I'm not qualified to run a medical facility. You're more qualified than you think. And what you don't know you can learn. The company will pay for you to complete your nurse practitioner degree. We'll hire experienced administrators to handle the business operations while you focus on patient care. How much would something like this cost? Nathan told her the numbers and Simone nearly dropped the folder. That's an enormous risk, she said. The biggest risks lead to the biggest rewards. Simone looked at him carefully. Is this about proving something to your board? Because if you're doing this to show them they were wrong. I'm doing this because I want to spend the rest of my life building something meaningful with you, Nathan said. The board made me realize that I don't want to work for people who don't share my values. I want to create something new. What about Richardson Industries? You built that company from nothing. And now I'm building something better from something. From love, from partnership, from the belief that healthcare should be accessible and compassionate. Simone stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the hospital parking lot where she'd spent so many hours working double shifts to make ends meet. What about Harmony? She asked. This would change everything for her too. It would give her opportunities we can't provide separately. Educational funds, travel, experiences. But most importantly, it would show her that people who love each other can build amazing things together. Simone turned back to face him. You're really serious about this? I've never been more serious about anything in my life. She sat back down across from him, her hands shaking slightly as she held the folder. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? Of failing. Of not being smart enough or experienced enough. Of letting you down. Nathan reached across the table and took her hands. Do you know what I was most afraid of after my accident? He asked. What? That I'd never find someone who could love all of me. Not just the successful parts but the broken parts too. Not just the confident parts but the scared parts too. He squeezed her hands gently. You loved me when I was angry and bitter and pushing everyone away. You loved me when I couldn't even figure out how to sit at a restaurant table. If you can love me at my worst, I can certainly believe in you at your best. Tears filled Simone's eyes. What if we fail? Then we fail together. And then we figure out what comes next together. Simone looked down at the architectural drawings one more time, imagining herself walking through those halls, caring for patients, making a difference in people's lives while building something permanent with the man she loved. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. Okay, let's do it. Let's build something amazing together. Nathan's smile was brighter than she'd ever seen it. He leaned across the table and kissed her, right there in the hospital break room, not caring who might see them. There's just one more thing, he said when they broke apart. What's that? Nathan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Not the promised necklace from before but something else entirely. Simone Williams, will you marry me? The break room fell completely silent. Simone stared at the ring, a simple solitaire diamond that caught the afternoon light streaming through the window. Nathan. I know we said we'd take things one day at a time. But I want all my days to be with you. I want to wake up next to you and build this company with you and raise Harmony with you and maybe have more children with you and grow old with you. Simone was crying now, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. What does Harmony think about this? She asked. Nathan smiled. I asked her permission first. She said it was about time I made it official. You asked my 6-year-old daughter for permission to marry me? She's the most important person in your life. I needed to make sure she was okay with sharing you. Simone laughed through her tears. And what did she say? She said she'd been planning our wedding since the night I read her a bedtime story. Simone looked at the ring, then at Nathan, then at the architectural drawings spread across the table. Her whole life was about to change. Not just her relationship status or her living situation but everything. Her career, her future, her daughter's opportunities. It was terrifying and exhilarating and absolutely right. Yes, she said. Yes to the business partnership, yes to the marriage proposal, yes to building something incredible together. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Later that evening they picked up Harmony from after-school care together and drove to Nathan's penthouse to celebrate. Are we really going to get married? Harmony asked as they rode up in the elevator. We really are, Simone confirmed. And Nathan's going to be my dad? Nathan and Simone exchanged glances. They hadn't discussed adoption yet, but the hope in Harmony's voice was unmistakable. If that's what you want, Nathan said carefully. It's what I want, Harmony said with 6-year-old certainty. I've been wanting a dad forever. That night, after Harmony was asleep in Nathan's guest room, Nathan and Simone sat on his balcony looking out at the city lights, planning their future. Are we crazy? Simone asked, her engagement ring sparkling in the moonlight. Probably, Nathan admitted. But the best things in life require a little bit of crazy. When do you want to get married? Tomorrow? Simone laughed. How about we build the medical facility first, then plan the wedding? Deal. But I'm not waiting long. I've waited 32 years to find you. I'm not waiting any longer than necessary to make you my wife. As they sat together, wrapped in each other's arms and surrounded by architectural drawings and wedding magazines, both of them felt the same thing. The absolute certainty that they were exactly where they belonged. The engagement announcement in the newspaper's society section created exactly the reaction Nathan had expected. a mix of congratulations, curiosity, and barely concealed scandal. The headline read, Tech CEO finds love after tragedy, but the subtext was clear in every carefully worded paragraph questioning whether Nathan Richardson was making decisions with his heart instead of his head. The reactions from their respective circles were predictably mixed. Rita screamed with excitement when Simone showed up to work wearing her engagement ring, immediately demanding to see wedding dress magazines and insisting on throwing the best bridal shower in hospital history. Jake's response was more complicated. "You're really doing this," he said when Nathan called to tell him the news. "I'm really doing it. Both the marriage and the medical facility." Jake was quiet for a long moment. "I hope you know what you're doing, Nathan. For the first time in years, I know exactly what I'm doing. And if it doesn't work out, it will work out." But Jake's doubts weren't the only obstacle they faced. 3 days after the engagement announcement, Simone came home from work looking shaken and upset. "What's wrong?" Nathan asked immediately. Simone sat down heavily on the couch, still in her scrubs. "My supervisor wants to see me tomorrow morning. There have been questions raised about my personal situation and whether it affects my professional judgment." Nathan felt anger rise in his chest. "What kind of questions?" "Apparently, some people think I'm dating you for your money. That I'm using my position at the hospital to network with wealthy patients and their families." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Simone looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Nathan, think about how this looks from the outside. I'm a single mother working double shifts to make ends meet, and suddenly I'm engaged to a millionaire and planning to become the chief medical officer of a major healthcare facility. People are going to assume I slept my way to the top." Nathan moved his wheelchair closer to the couch and took her hands. "Let them assume whatever they want. We know the truth. The truth doesn't always matter. Perception matters too." "What are you saying?" Simone pulled her hands away and stood up, pacing to the window. "Maybe we should wait." "Wait for what?" "To get married. To announce the business partnership. Maybe we should let some time pass so it doesn't look like." "Like what?" "Like I fell in love with an incredible woman who happens to be the most qualified person I know to help me build something meaningful. Like I'm a gold digger who got lucky." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with hurt and frustration. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, processing not just what Simone had said but the pain behind it. "Come here," he said finally. "Nathan. Please. Come here." Reluctantly, Simone walked back to the couch and sat down beside him. "I need to tell you something," Nathan said. "Something I should have told you weeks ago." "What?" "Before my accident, I dated a lot of women who were interested in my money. Beautiful women, successful women, women who looked perfect on paper and at charity events." Simone listened without interrupting. "I thought that was normal. I thought that was how relationships worked in my world. You found someone attractive and compatible, you enjoyed each other's company, and you didn't look too closely at whether the connection was real or just convenient." "Nathan. Let me finish. When I had my accident and became disabled, every single one of those women disappeared. Not immediately, not dramatically. They just faded away. Phone calls became less frequent, invitations stopped coming, and suddenly I realized that none of them had ever really seen me as a person. They'd seen me as a lifestyle." Simone felt her heart break a little for the man who had discovered that his relationships were as fragile as his legs had turned out to be. "Then I met you," Nathan continued. "And you didn't know about my money or my company or my penthouse. You just knew I was the guy whose wheelchair got stuck at a restaurant, and instead of being embarrassed or uncomfortable, you helped me and then laughed about the whole situation." "It was pretty funny," Simone said softly. "You fell in love with me before you knew I was rich. You let me into your life when you thought I was just a regular guy with a disability. You introduced me to your daughter before you knew I could pay for her college education." Nathan turned to face her completely. "So when people question your motives, when they suggest that you're with me for my money, they're not just insulting you. They're insulting me too. They're saying that I'm not worth loving for who I am." Simone reached for his hands, understanding flooding her face. "I never thought of it that way. I know you didn't. Because you're not the kind of person who thinks that way. Which is exactly why I know that what we have is real." They sat in silence for a moment, both processing the weight of external judgment and internal truth. "I'm still scared," Simone admitted. "Of what people will think? Of failing you. Of not being good enough for the life you're offering me." Nathan lifted her chin so she was looking directly into his eyes. "Simone, listen to me very carefully. You are not getting a life upgrade by being with me. I'm getting a life upgrade by being with you. You're not moving up to my level. We're creating a new level together. But the money is just a tool. It's not who I am, it's just what I have. And what I want to do with it is use it to build something that matters with the person who matters most to me. Simone felt tears start to fall, but they were different tears now. Not tears of fear or shame, but tears of relief and recognition. I love you, she said simply. I love you too. Both sides of you. The strong, independent woman who raised an incredible daughter on her own, and the vulnerable woman who's brave enough to take a risk on building something new. What are we going to tell people who question our relationship? We're going to tell them the truth. That love doesn't follow a timeline or a social hierarchy. That sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. The next morning, Simone walked into her supervisor's office with her head held high and her engagement ring sparkling on her finger. Simone, her supervisor, Mrs. Patterson, said without looking up from her paperwork. Thank you for coming in. Of course. I'm sure you know why you're here. I assume it has something to do with my engagement. Mrs. Patterson finally looked up, her expression carefully neutral. There have been some concerns raised about potential conflicts of interest. What kind of conflicts of interest? Your relationship with Nathan Richardson. He's been seen around the hospital quite frequently, and there are questions about whether you're using your position here to benefit your personal relationship. Simone took a deep breath, remembering Nathan's words from the night before. Mrs. Patterson, I met Nathan Richardson on a blind date that had nothing to do with this hospital. Our relationship developed over several months before I knew the extent of his business interests. I have never used my position here to benefit him, nor have I ever compromised patient care or professional ethics in any way. But surely you can understand how the optics might be concerning. I can understand how people might make assumptions, Simone replied. But I can't control other people's assumptions. I can only control my own actions, which have been consistently professional and ethical. Mrs. Patterson shuffled her papers uncomfortably. There's also the matter of your planned career change. What about it? Leaving nursing to become a medical administrator. Some people might see that as opportunistic. Simone felt a flash of anger but kept her voice steady. Mrs. Patterson, I've been a nurse for 10 years. I've worked double shifts, covered holidays, and given everything I had to patient care. The opportunity to use my medical experience in a broader capacity while continuing my education is exactly the kind of career advancement that you've always encouraged in your staff. But the circumstances. The circumstances are that I fell in love with a man who values my professional expertise enough to make me his business partner. If the genders were reversed, if a male nurse was marrying a wealthy woman who wanted to support his career advancement, would we be having this conversation? Mrs. Patterson was quiet for a moment, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. I'm not questioning your qualifications, Simone. I'm simply making sure that all ethical guidelines are being followed. I understand, and I want to assure you that they are. My relationship with Nathan has never interfered with my duties here, and it never will for as long as I remain on staff. And how long do you plan to remain on staff? Simone had been dreading this question, but she'd prepared for it. I'll be giving my notice in 6 months, after I complete my current patient assignments and help train my replacement. I believe in leaving responsibly and professionally. Mrs. Patterson nodded slowly. I appreciate your honesty. Is there anything else? Just be careful, Simone. Major life changes can be overwhelming, especially when they happen quickly. Thank you for your concern. But I've never been more certain of anything in my life. As Simone left her supervisor's office, she felt lighter than she had in days. She'd stood up for herself and her relationship without apologizing or making excuses. For the first time since the engagement announcement, she felt truly proud of her choices. That evening, she found Nathan in his penthouse office, surrounded by building permits and contractor estimates. How did it go? He asked immediately. Better than I expected. I think I made it clear that I'm not going anywhere literally or figuratively. Nathan smiled and pulled her into his lap. I'm proud of you. For what? For not letting other people's doubts become your doubts. For standing up for us. I learned from the best. A certain CEO who decided to start an entire new company rather than let a board of directors dictate his personal life. Speaking of which, I have news. Good news or bad news? Good news. We got approved for all the permits. Groundbreaking is scheduled for next month. Simone felt excitement bubble up in her chest. Really? Really? Richardson Medical Solutions is officially happening. She kissed him then, long and deep and full of promise. "Are you ready for this?" she asked when they broke apart. "With you? I'm ready for anything." Outside the penthouse windows, the city sparkled with possibilities, and for the first time since their engagement, both Nathan and Simone felt like they could conquer anything together. 6 months later. The morning of Nathan and Simone's wedding dawned clear and bright, with the kind of perfect weather that made people believe in good omens. Simone woke up in Rita's guest room, surrounded by bridesmaids and the organized chaos of wedding preparation. "I can't believe this day is finally here," Rita said, handing Simone a cup of coffee. "6 months ago, you were convinced you'd never find love, and now you're marrying a man who built you a medical facility as an engagement present." "He built us a medical facility," Simone corrected, smiling at her reflection in the mirror. "We're partners in everything now." The Richardson Medical Solutions building had been completed just 2 weeks earlier, a beautiful, modern facility that exceeded everyone's expectations. Simone had been involved in every aspect of the design and planning, from the layout of the patient rooms to the hiring of the entire medical staff. The grand opening was scheduled for the following month, but they'd already received approval to begin seeing patients. More importantly, Simone had completed her nurse practitioner program with honors, balancing her studies with her hospital job and wedding planning. Nathan had been her biggest supporter throughout the grueling 18-month program, helping with homework when Harmony was asleep and celebrating every milestone along the way. "How are you feeling?" asked Jessica, another bridesmaid and one of Simone's former colleagues. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," Simone said honestly. Across town, Nathan was having his own pre-wedding moment in his penthouse, surrounded by Jake and a few other close friends. "You clean up nice for a guy who spent 6 months covered in construction dust," Jake said, adjusting Nathan's tie. "It was worth every minute," Nathan replied. Simone had so many ideas for the facility design. She knew exactly what patients would need, what families would want, how to make the space feel welcoming instead of clinical. And she was right? She was right about everything. The contractors started calling her the boss because she knew more about accessibility requirements than they did. Jake smiled. "You're really happy, aren't you?" "I'm complete," Nathan said. "For the first time in my life, I feel complete." The wedding ceremony was held in the garden of a historic mansion just outside the city, a venue that was both elegant and completely wheelchair accessible. Simone had insisted on accessibility being a priority in every aspect of their wedding planning, not just for Nathan but for any guests who might need accommodations. As guests took their seats, the differences between Nathan's world and Simone's world were obvious but not divisive. Business associates in expensive suits sat next to nurses in their Sunday best. Nathan's parents, who had flown in from Europe, chatted warmly with Simone's mother, who had surprised everyone by being completely charmed by her soon-to-be son-in-law. But the most important guest was sitting in the front row, wearing a pink dress and holding a basket of flower petals. Harmony had grown 2 inches and gained immeasurable confidence over the past months. She was no longer the shy child who worried about whether her mother could afford school supplies. She was a little girl who knew she was loved unconditionally by 2 adults who were committed to building a family together. When the music started and Simone appeared at the back of the garden, Nathan felt his breath catch. She was beautiful, but more than that, she was radiant with happiness and certainty. Her dress was simple and elegant, chosen not for its designer label but for the way it made her feel like herself. Her smile was the same genuine warm smile that had caught Nathan's attention in a coffee shop months earlier. As she walked down the aisle, Nathan thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. A disastrous first date that became the foundation of something beautiful. A business partnership that had become a love story. 2 people who had found in each other exactly what they hadn't known they were looking for. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, "we are gathered here today to witness the union of Nathan and Simone, 2 people who have shown us that love can bloom in the most unexpected places and grow into something extraordinary." The ceremony was personal and heartfelt, with vows that both Nathan and Simone had written themselves. "Simone," Nathan said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes, "6 months ago, I was a man who had lost faith in the possibility of real connection. You didn't just restore my faith. You showed me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be the best version of yourself." He paused, looking at Harmony, who was beaming from the front row. "You both did that for me. You took a broken man and helped him build something whole and beautiful and meaningful. I promise to spend the rest of my life earning the gift of your love." Simone's vows were equally moving. "Nathan, when I met you, I was so focused on just surviving each day that I'd forgotten how to dream about the future. You reminded me that I deserve happiness, that Harmony deserves to see her mother truly fulfilled, and that love is not a luxury but a necessity. She looked directly into his eyes. You didn't rescue me. We rescued each other. And I promised to spend the rest of our lives building something amazing together. When they exchanged rings, Harmony jumped up from her seat and ran to the altar, wrapping her arms around both of them in an impromptu group hug that made every guest smile. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant said. You may kiss the bride. The kiss was soft and sweet and full of promise, the kind of kiss that marked not an ending but a beginning. The reception was held in the mansion's ballroom, with dinner and dancing that went well into the evening. Nathan had surprised Simone by learning to dance in his wheelchair, working with a physical therapist for weeks to master the movements that would allow them to have their first dance as husband and wife. As they moved together to At Last by Etta James, Simone's hand resting on Nathan's shoulder while he guided them in smooth, practice circles, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. How long have you been planning this surprise? Simone whispered as they danced. Since the day you said yes to marrying me, Nathan replied. I wanted our first dance to be perfect. It already was perfect. You didn't need to learn special moves. I needed to show you that there's nothing I won't do to make you happy. After their dance, Harmony joined them on the dance floor, standing on Nathan's footrests as he spun them both around, her laughter filling the ballroom and reminding everyone present that this wasn't just a wedding but the celebration of a family coming together. The speeches were heartfelt and genuine. Rita talked about watching Simone transform from a woman who was just surviving into a woman who was truly thriving. Jake admitted that he'd been wrong to doubt Nathan's decision to put love first, acknowledging that Nathan had never been happier or more successful than he was now. But the most touching moment came when Harmony took the microphone, completely unplanned. I want to thank Nathan for making my mom smile every day, she said in her clear 6-year-old voice. And for teaching me that families can look different but still be perfect. Nathan, you're the best dad I could have asked for. There wasn't a single person in the room who wasn't moved by her words. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Nathan and Simone found themselves alone on the mansion's terrace, looking up at stars that were just barely visible through the city lights. So, Mrs. Richardson, Nathan said, trying out her new name. I love the sound of that, Simone replied, leaning against his shoulder. Any regrets? Only that it took us so long to find each other. They sat in comfortable silence, both reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. What are you thinking about? Nathan asked. Everything. The medical facility opening next month, Harmony starting 2nd grade, our honeymoon in Italy. Italy's going to be amazing. Harmony's so excited about seeing the art museums. She's excited about everything lately. Did you see her showing off her flower girl dress to everyone? Nathan chuckled. She told the photographer that she needs extra pictures because she's planning to use them for her own wedding someday. She's got it all figured out. She gets that from her mother. As they prepared to leave for their honeymoon suite, Harmony ran up to them, still in her pink dress but now with grass stains on the skirt from playing with the other children. Are you leaving now? She asked. Just for tonight, sweetie, Simone said, kneeling down to Harmony's level. Tomorrow we'll go home together, and then next week we'll all go to Italy together. And when we come back I get to see the new medical place? The medical facility, Nathan corrected gently. And yes, you'll get to see where your mom and I work together. And I get to be the flower girl when Rita gets married? Simone and Nathan exchanged amused glances. Rita had gotten engaged just last month to another nurse from the hospital. If Rita asks you to be her flower girl then yes, Simone said. Harmony hugged them both fiercely. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. Hearing Harmony call him Dad still made Nathan's heart skip, even though she'd been doing it for months now. We love you too, sweetheart, he said. 3 months later. The Richardson Medical Solutions facility was busier than anyone had anticipated. They'd projected serving 50 patients in their first month but had actually seen over 200. The community response had been overwhelmingly positive, with families traveling from neighboring towns to receive care at the facility known for its compassionate approach and innovative accessibility features. Simone thrived in her role as Chief Medical Officer, balancing patient care with administrative responsibilities and continuing her education in healthcare management. She discovered a talent for leadership that she'd never had the opportunity to develop in her previous roles. Nathan had found renewed purpose in building something that directly served people in need. The business was profitable, but more importantly, it was making a real difference in the community. Their marriage had settled into a rhythm that felt both comfortable and exciting. Nathan had moved into a larger, more accessible house that they'd chosen together, with a yard where Harmony could play and rooms designed for a growing family. Because they were planning to grow their family. The conversation had started naturally one evening as they watched Harmony play in their new backyard. She'd make a wonderful big sister, Simone had said. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Nathan had asked. Maybe. Are you ready for that level of chaos? With you? I'm ready for anything. They decided to try for another baby, and Simone was cautiously optimistic that they might have good news to share soon. But on this particular Thursday evening, as Nathan came home from the medical facility, he found Simone sitting at their kitchen table with a strange expression on her face. Everything okay? He asked, immediately sensing tension. I got a call today, Simone said quietly. About what? About Harmony's biological father. Nathan felt his stomach drop. This was the conversation they'd both been dreading since they'd gotten married. What kind of call? Simone handed him a business card. He's hired a lawyer. He wants to establish paternity and petition for visitation rights. The card was from a high-end law firm in the city, the kind that specialized in family court cases for wealthy clients. After 7 years, Nathan said, his voice tight with anger. He wants to show up now? Apparently he's married now and his wife can't have children. They want to be part of Harmony's life. Nathan stared at the business card, feeling a familiar rage building in his chest. Not the hopeless anger from after his accident, but the protective fury of a father whose child was being threatened. What did you tell them? I told them I needed to discuss it with my husband and that any future communication should go through our lawyer. Good. What does Harmony know? Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first. They sat in silence for a moment, both processing the magnitude of what this could mean for their family. What do you want to do? Nathan asked finally. I want to tell him that he gave up his rights when he walked away 7 years ago. I want to protect Harmony from being disappointed by him again. But I also know that Harmony has always wondered about her biological father. And legally he might have rights whether we like it or not. Nathan wheeled his chair closer to where Simone was sitting and took her hands. Whatever happens, we face it together. Harmony is our daughter, regardless of biology. No one is going to take her away from us or disrupt the family we've built. You're not worried? I'm terrified, Nathan admitted. But I'm also confident that no court would separate a child from the only father she's ever known to give visitation to a man who abandoned her. What if he fights us? What if he has more money for lawyers than we do? Nathan squeezed her hands. Then we fight back with everything we have. And we win because we're fighting for love, not guilt or convenience. That night, they called their lawyer and began preparing for what could be a lengthy legal battle. But they also did something more important. They talked to Harmony. Sweetheart, Simone said as they tucked her into bed, we need to tell you something important. Are you having a baby? Harmony asked hopefully. Nathan and Simone exchanged glances. They hadn't planned to share that news yet, but Harmony was remarkably perceptive. We're trying to have a baby, Simone said carefully. But that's not what we need to talk to you about tonight. They explained, in age-appropriate terms, that Harmony's biological father had contacted them about wanting to meet her. The man who went away before I was born? Harmony asked. Yes. Why does he want to meet me now? Nathan answered. Sometimes adults make mistakes and then later wish they could fix them. But sweetie, no matter what happens with this situation, you need to know that you are our daughter and nothing will ever change that. Are you still going to be my dad? Forever and always. Nothing and no one can change that. Harmony considered this seriously. Can I think about whether I want to meet him? Of course, Simone said. This is your choice and we'll support whatever you decide. Okay. But I don't want him to take me away from you. That will never happen, Nathan said firmly. We're a family and families stick together. 6 months later, the legal situation had resolved more smoothly than anyone had expected. Harmony's biological father, faced with the reality of a child who didn't know him and didn't particularly want a relationship with him, had withdrawn his petition after one supervised meeting at a neutral location. Harmony had been polite but uninterested, more concerned with showing Nathan a picture she'd drawn than with getting to know the stranger who claimed to be her father. He seems nice, she'd said afterward, but he's not my dad. Nathan's my dad. The man had left quietly, perhaps finally understanding what Nathan and Simone had known all along, that being a father was about more than biology. But the legal victory was overshadowed by an even bigger celebration. Simone was 4 months pregnant, and the baby was healthy and growing perfectly. They decided not to find out the gender, wanting to be surprised. Boy or girl, this baby is going to be so loved, Simone said as they looked at the ultrasound pictures together. Just like their big sister, Nathan replied. The Richardson Medical Solutions facility had expanded to include a children's wing, and they were planning to add a maternity center within the next 2 years. Nathan and Simone's partnership had grown beyond their marriage into a true collaboration that was transforming healthcare in their community. But the most important transformation was in Nathan himself. One evening, as he watched Harmony help Simone prepare dinner while explaining her latest school project, Nathan realized that he couldn't remember the last time he'd thought about his wheelchair as a limitation. Somewhere in the process of building a life with Simone and Harmony, his disability had become simply part of who he was, not the thing that defined him. Nathan, Harmony called from the kitchen, Mom says you're the best cook in the family, but I think she's just being nice. Hey, Nathan protested, rolling into the kitchen. My spaghetti skills are legendary. Your spaghetti skills got you a wife, Simone pointed out, kissing his cheek as she passed. And a daughter, Harmony added, climbing onto his lap for a hug. And another baby on the way, Simone said, resting her hand on her growing belly. Nathan looked around at his kitchen, filled with the chaos and love of family life, and felt the same sense of completion he'd experienced on his wedding day. A year and a half ago, he'd been a bitter, angry man convinced that his life was over. Today he was a husband, father, business owner, and expectant father again, surrounded by people who loved him not despite his challenges but because of who he'd become while facing them. What are you thinking about? Simone asked, noting his contemplative expression. I'm thinking about how lucky I am that Jake forced me to go on that blind date. Even though it was a disaster? Especially because it was a disaster. Perfect dates don't make perfect love stories. Harmony looked up at him with curious eyes. What makes a perfect love story? Nathan considered the question seriously. Two people who choose to keep choosing each other even when things get difficult. Two people who make each other braver and kinder and happier than they could be alone. Like you and Mom? Exactly like me and Mom. As the evening settled around them, with dinner preparations and homework help and the comfortable routine of a family in love, Nathan Richardson realized that this was what success actually looked like. Not a corner office or a stock portfolio or a penthouse apartment, but a kitchen full of laughter and a life full of people who mattered. The blind date disaster had led to the greatest blessing of his life. Sometimes, Nathan thought, the best things really did come from the most unexpected places. And as Simone called them all to dinner, he wheeled himself to the table surrounded by his family, grateful for every moment that had brought them together and excited for all the moments still to come.